Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Health and Environment Studies podcast. Here today we have Kase and Tyler, who will be debating on whether pesticides should be banned or not. Tyler will be arguing against pesticides and that yes, they should be banned, and Kase will be arguing that they should not be banned. So first, we will give a brief overview of what pesticides are. Pesticides is any substance that is used to kill or control unwanted pests and insects in gardens, fields, parks, homes/buildings. And so let's start with Case's opening statement, then Tyler's.
Hi, my name is Case. Um, so, introduction. So pesticides are toxic substances that is released into our environment to eliminate dangerous pests, diseases, and provide protection to the environment and to our homes. Pesticides are also used to control various pests and disease carriers, such as mosquitoes, ticks, rats, and mice. Pesticides are used in agriculture to control weeds, insect infestation, and diseases. There are many types of pesticides. Each is meant to be effective against specific pests. The use of pesticides is extremely useful in terms of protecting plants from disease-carrying insects and pests. Since pesticides can provide such a benefit to humans, why should it be banned?
Okay. Hello, I am Tyler, and as you already know, and today I'll be talking about the damages of pesticides and arguing why they should be banned. Firstly, pesticides don't just kill pests; they also affect other organisms along with the plants themselves. Also, they harm humans. The pesticides can cause many health problems, such as birth defects, damage to reproductive system, damage to nerve system, and various different cancers, according to the study done by Alliance for Healthy Homes. Another study showed that farmers who handle pesticides experience headaches, fatigue, hand tremors, and other neurological conditions than farmers who do not handle pesticides. Also, children that live on farms where exposed to pesticides are twice as likely of contracting brain cancer than children who are not exposed. This is not the same for adults because children's bodies are still developing and they have a weaker immune system. It also affects plants and animals. It can affect plants if too much pesticides is used. It will weaken the root system and the immune system. And it affects affects animals and sometimes plants when runoff from storms causes the pesticides to run off into streams, and the animals that drink the contaminated water will be affected, and plants that are on the stream and use the stream for water to grow will also be affected. Lastly, pesticides are dangerous and should not be used by farmers or other people anymore because it damages living organisms in agricultural land and the environment. So is using pesticides to save money really worth the damages it's bringing to the environment?
So, first of all, the use of pesticides is not to harm organisms and the environment. It is to control various pests and diseases by releasing specific toxins into a specific area where it cannot inflict harm to animals and people as well. Excuse me. Pesticides is the best choice when it comes to protect your family and your home from dangerous pests, mice, and any kinds of other disease-carrying pests that could harm people and animals. Without pesticides, we could all be exposed to various diseases such as avian flu, prions, anthrax, and many more dangerous viruses and diseases. Therefore, it is important to use pesticides to protect us, to protect pets, animals, and our homes from these dangerous types of infestation that affect our environment. So, if pesticides are going to be banned, how are we going to keep our environment and our communities safe from these infestations?
Okay, so you mentioned that pesticides are not meant to harm organisms and the environment, but they do. If too much pesticides are used, they can affect the plant's root system and immune system, like I've already said, and also could affect the soil. And when you said it doesn't affect humans, that statement is false. It can give many problems in health, as I mentioned before, but let me list some more and most of the health problems. So pesticides can cause ADHD in kids, Alzheimer's disease, birth defects, various types of cancer, depression, fertility issues, immune system damage, nervous system damage, respiratory system issues, a lower IQ, and Parkinson's disease. Also, you may not be the one handling the pesticides, but you can be affected and exposed by pesticides through air, water, and residue left on food. This is why it's recommended that you buy more organic food, because they don't use pesticides to grow that food. Lastly, you said that pesticides control pests and prevent many of these pests from spreading diseases and other infections, but there are many other traditional ways of keeping pests away that don't involve pesticides, such as crop rotation, trap crops, which is keeping the pests away from valuable crops and targeting them at crops that are not needed, organic farming, biological pest control, using bacteria, parasites, and other infections to kill pests, and the release of other organisms that are natural predators and parasites to the pests. And lastly, organic pesticides, which are just a bit less effective but are more environmentally friendly.
So, as you said, biological pests sometimes do work, but they don't control pests, mice, and other types of diseases. It is true that pesticides could sometimes be faulty and cause unintentional harm to humans and animals. These types of studies of sickness found in people caused by pesticides are very rare. Sometimes people get into situations where they don't read signs that says chemical poison gases are in this area, like keep out and stuff like that. But pesticides do not help spread diseases, as you mentioned. A lot of those health problems are caused by human activity, not pesticides. So, in conclusion,
Wait, okay, so this is my second rebuttal, and as you said, biopesticides are not as useful, and that pesticides are very rare. Like there are not as many cases of humans being affected by this, but biopesticides are useful and are often effective in very small quantities as well, and they decompose very quickly, resulting in lower exposure, avoiding pollution. You also mentioned that it's very rare to get sick by pesticide exposure, but a study done by UNEP Global Chemicals Outlook stated that around 900,000 people die annually around the world, and that more than 20 million people are affected by pesticides, meaning that your statement is false.
first, the number that you mentioned worldwide is, well, that's very common in some countries, like the countries like in third world countries and other types of countries that are like Africa, let's just say China. These types of countries don't really take care of their environment and like have a lot of pollution, but it doesn't mean pesticides are like the cause of this many deaths around the world.
There was a study showing that pesticides did cause it,
In Canada,
and because it doesn't matter if it's a third world country, it's
but
still humans being affected by pesticides.
But in Canada, there are very few cases. There are very, very few cases that are caused by pesticides. But today, in the future, there will be a much safer environment for us to interact, and these pesticides are controlled and could not harm us or animals, especially the environment. I agree with you on that point that you mentioned that people should buy more organic food, but it doesn't mean that pesticides are mostly used on the foods. According to the government of Canada, the role is to protect our environment, foods and resources in our homes
And
from
pesticides.
pests and diseases that could inflict harm to us, like the avian flu that is caused by the birds and the other types of diseases. So again, it is very important to use pesticides only to eliminate danger from our environment and society, so we can interact more to our environment and learn more about it instead of being away because of all the pests and diseases lurking in our environment and our community. This is why it should not be banned. because of how important it is to our society, and it plays a big role of protecting Canada and its agriculture.
So, now to conclude, I will now conclude by saying that pesticides should be banned because it's a chemical toxin that's polluting our air, water, and food. Also is damaging our agricultural land and affects millions of people and other organisms that are not pests. Lastly, I would like to say that staying organic is always a healthier option, and there are also many traditional ways that are proven to keep disease-carrying pests away. This is why I believe pesticides should be banned.
So for me to conclude, the use of pesticides is extremely useful in terms of protecting plants from disease-carrying insects and pests. So pesticides should not be banned because it provides such benefit to our environment and our society, and it makes us this community a lot safer than just banning pesticides.
Okay, that's it for this podcast. Make sure to stay tuned for our next week's podcast.